Right guys, welcome back. So this time, today I want to show you how we can use lists and list methods to manipulate data. So previously we covered string and string methods. We looked at string positioning, also known as string slicing. We looked at methods specifically related to strings. And we also looked at how you can stack your code in one line rather than multiple lines to achieve a result. So today we're going to cover lists. Lists are a very important data type in Python. Obviously we're familiar with integers and strings, but lists are one of those unique data types. In other languages, lists would be known as arrays. But in the world of Excel, if we use Excel as an example, really quickly, here you can see I've got customer name, and the customer name exists as separate names. You've got James, Jack, John, and Bruce. Now, in Python, if you were to use single values, you would do something like this: name1 equals James, and then you'd also have name2 equals Jack, and then you'd have to save those values down into separate variables and then call on those variables each time you wanted one of those names. So this is where a list comes in. A list allows you to store essentially a larger group of values in one specific variable. So for those names, for instance, we could just have, if we just use cust name, we can now create a list specifically for our customer names here. So we've got James, Jack, and John. I'm just going to create the first few here real quickly. James, Jack, and then John. And the defining aspect to a list is to use a square bracket. A square bracket designates the values as a list. Otherwise, Python wouldn't know that it is a list. So we enter that, and then whenever we call on this variable cust name, we can see we've got our values sorted in a list, and all three values rather than three separate values. So there's a couple of things here. Firstly, you can slice lists the same way you can do with strings. So if you use cust name, say we wanted the name Jack, we can pull out the name Jack by calling upon the position of Jack in the list. So Jack is second in the list, but in the world of Python, it's actually first because James starts at 0. Python in the world of Python, counting starts at 0. So to retrieve Jack, we have to put in 1, and that returns us the value of Jack. And at the same time, similar to string slicing, you can also use a range as well. So if I say one of the first two names, I can then put 0 using a colon to 2, and that would return the first two values. So once again, remember you can use slicing and positioning the same way you can use strings as well. Python is great for that, and lists really marry well together with the ability to slice your data. So now going back really quickly here, I'm just going to tidy up my screen real quick. If we go back to our cust names, there's a few things we can do. So, and this is where I'm going to show you methods. So remember, we've got two types of formula in Python. We've got functions and you've got methods. Functions apply to all data types. Well, let's just say the formula that apply to all data types, and methods are formula that only apply to specific data types. So a function that is quite common would be the print function. Okay, another one would be like the int function, or the directory function is another common function, and I'll show you what some of these are later. And a method would be something like, and I'll show you in a moment, dot append, which is specific to lists. We can also use dot sort, which is also specific to lists, and we have specific methods for string values as well. So in this example, I'm just going to show you how we're going to use a append method to add to this list. So we've got three names, but I want to add Bruce to that list. As you know, we've got a list of customer names here. I want to add Bruce. So to do that, we do customer name dot append, and then what we do is write the value that we want to append, which is Bruce, and then hit enter. Now when we do customer name, we can see Bruce is now being added to the list. And you can add more as well, one by one. If you have multiple values, you'll need to add them in the form of a loop. And I'll cover that in a future video. But say if you wanted to add several names, the best way to do that is to use a for loop, and that will allow you to insert the values. But we'll come on to that in a future video. Now, what do I want to do next? Actually, let's just add one more name real quick. I want to add customer name dot append, just to make this a good data set. I'm gonna add Charlie. And now when I do custom name, I can see I've got 5 names. And what I want to do now is I want to sort the list. So to sort the list, there is another method we can use, and that is the sort function. Now, when I hit enter, nothing happens. But then when I print it, you can now see it's in alphabetical order. It's sorted all the names. What if you wanted them reversed? Well, you can do that as well. So what we do is custom name dot sort, and now what we do is reverse equals true. And now when we do custom name, we can see we've flipped the reverse on the sort. So just another example, just to show you how you can play with list values and really manipulate them to get a better control of your data and to manipulate your data so you can then serve them for formulas, for calculated fields, for maps, whatever that may be. In the world of Excel, as you know, data is presented in the form of columns, and lists are a very powerful way to take a full column of data and then to control that column, whether you want to add a calculation, whether you want to add some kind of mapping, or whether you want to use some kind of lookup formula. You can do that in the help of a list. Now, the last one, which is linked to another data type, but to present this one to you, I'm going to do something quite different. I'm going to append the list again. So we're going to add another name, but this time, and this is a drawback with lists, we're going to add Charlie again. So what do you think, guys, is going to happen if I add the name Charlie to this list? Do you think Python's going to accept it? Let's find out. Because we didn't get an error, so that suggests correct. It suggests that Python does not recognize duplicates, and lists as a data type are able to hold duplicate values. So if I now sort this, custom name dot sort, custom name, you can now see we've got Charlie repeated twice. And there may be instances where you have, say country, and you might have numerous countries, UK, US, you might have Germany, you might have France, and there will be duplicate values. And you want to be able to deal with those duplicate values in a meaningful way. Now, how can you do that with a list? You've got a number of different options, but there are not many simple options, shall I say. The best option I found for deduplicating a list is to turn the list into a set. Now, a set is like a list, except with a set, instead of using a square bracket, you use a curly brace. So this type of bracket right here is known as a curly brace. And a set does not allow for duplicate value. So what am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say is that you can actually create a set. So let's just say set1 equals set, which is a method, which is a function. And what we're going to do is we're going to set customer name as the set. So what we're saying is we want to convert our lists and create a new set called set1. And in doing so, when we print set1, we'll see that we've deduplicated any duplicate values. So that's how sets work. And that's a clean way to show you. There are other ways to deduplicate any any repeat values in a list, we can use other methods like dictionaries and so on and so forth. But to keep it clean and simple, I would recommend you guys use a set. Now you're wondering, hang on, Sid, I've now got a set, but what if I want to revert this back to a list? Well, you can, because you just use, what you now would use is to revert it back to a list. So we now call this cust name2 equals list set1. And now when we do cust name2, we've got a clean list of values. So guys, hope you like this video, and I hope this is useful. Do expect more videos coming up very soon on more Python topics. But in the meantime, if you like the video, do give us a like, and do subscribe if you want to see more on Python. Thank you for watching. Take care. See you in the next video.